the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to episode 178 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Velasquez, coming to you from a very sunny Costa Rica here. It's January 2024. I hope I got that one right. I always get confused with the years. They just keep flying by, as I'm sure it's the same for many of you guys. But not a cloud in the sky today. Absolutely beautiful. Summer is definitely here. It's kind of nice. There's a bit of wind. Otherwise, it would be absolutely boiling here. But exciting stuff happening in our office, which I'd mentioned before. We have a fractional ownership project going on in Manuel Antonio to build luxury treehouse villas. Just with our analysis and our work, we just identified that there's a huge opportunity here, and connecting it to Costa Rica's largest luxury travel company, and then within the network here, it should be a bit of a slam dunk here. So it's going to be very, very interesting. We're in the design phase of it at the moment. We'll be in the permitting phase in February, and then construction will start 1st of May to be ready basically for January 2025. So very, very exciting there, and going to be it's just we're very excited by it because its location is great. Its design is amazing, and it's Manuel Antonio, which is the top tourist destination in Costa Rica. But anyway, if you want to reach out to us for anything that you need, any help, you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Today, we're going to be talking to Richie Velasquez from Playa Grande Real Estate. Richie's lived in Honduras, Panama, and Costa Rica for the past 20 years. He's an avid photographer and videographer. It's amazing work. I've seen it myself. If you go to Playa Grande Real Estate, all of their stuff basically is by Richie. As well as being a great guy. He works in real estate, as you guys know, there for Playa Grande Real Estate. So we're going to get a bit of an update from him about what's going on in Playa Grande and where the market seems to be going, just because we haven't had a bit of an update for a while. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking to Richie about. Again, if you want to contact us, you can do info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good morning, Richie. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. I appreciate you taking time out of what I know is a very busy day to chat with us about Playa Grande today.
Hey, my pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, the first question I always like to ask people, Richie, is just kind of get a bit of a market update here. I mean, they had a good comeback in, late 2023. Real estate seems to have I would say, flatlined in the majority of the world. We've seen some declines throughout 2023. But what happened in 2023 in Playa Grande?
Well, it's good that you bring that up because it's something that most of our potential buyers will come over here. And I think it's one of the first questions they ask is, how is the market doing? Because the market back home, wherever they're from, whether it's Canada, the US, even Europe in some cases, has either flatlined or it's starting to kind of dip a little bit. To which my answer is, at least to my knowledge, in our area, in our general area, it really hasn't been experiencing that. And specifically to Playa Grande, it definitely has not been experiencing that because it's such a new community, I would say. If anything, the market has been still steadily climbing, a little slower than it did in 2021, 2022, but it's still climbing, which is a good thing for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from my I would say ivory tower over here, in the city, kind of watching the beach areas. I mean, what I'm seeing is that there are some price improvements in areas that probably, we're trying to ride this, this demand trend, but we're starting to see prices come down in non-key areas, on areas further out, but Tamarindo, Playa Grande, Flamingo, Potrero, I mean, it's still strong. And as you said there, prices continue to rise.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with just the reputation that Costa Rica has in general. And because Tamarindo has been just such a prominent tourist destination over the last 25, 30 years. Everybody has either heard of it or they know somebody who's been to Tamarindo. Yep. So it's always something where you mention, hey, I live in Costa Rica, I live in Tamarindo, and somebody's, eventually going to say, oh, I've heard of it or I've been there. And as long as that keeps happening, I think it just keeps bringing in more people. And then this is, the running joke that we have here as people who've lived here for a long time is that we see a lot of tourists come here with vacation goggles. After spending 3 or 4 wonderful days here, the first thing they want to do is find out about real estate and possibly investing here. And some people even want to come and retire here. So as long as that demand exists, I think the property value here in our area is going to at least maintain the way that it is.
If you were to get your crystal ball out and look at 2024, I mean, what do you think is going to happen in Playa Grande in
Mhm.
2024?
Well, Playa Grande has been experiencing an exponential growth for about the last 2 years, 2.5 years. I'd say right as soon as Costa Rica opened back up after lockdown, a lot of people, obviously, we all know that it started everywhere around the world where people were realizing that they could work remotely. So they were moving to different destinations and working from there. But here, what's happening is we are completely a new community. Playa Grande was about maybe 20, 30 homes during the lockdown. Now we have 20, 30 new homes that have come up in the last year and a half. And with that being said, it's nothing but really nice homes. Obviously, there's a couple of small homes here and there, but on the beach communities like Playa Grande Estates or even Las Ventanas at Playa Grande, we're seeing $1 million homes coming up, every single month. And I think that the market here is actually becoming a luxury market for the most part, at least for every part that's close to the beach or anything that has an ocean view. Of course, you can still find lots everywhere. Guanacaste is a big place where you can have a nice ocean view. But to have the amenities that we have here in Playa Grande, it's not an easy thing to find. So my crystal ball tells me that 2024 will still be a good year for sellers, for people like us that are in real estate. It's still going to be a good year. I think we're definitely going to experience a little bit of a lull as far as the amount of showings that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
However, the amount of transactions is still, I'd say, in a healthy spot right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's gonna, I think Grande just has something special. And I'm gonna ask you to describe Grande to listeners in a minute, but I think it just is special from its location and its feeling. I mean, there's an energy that Grande has where it's kind of you
Yes.
see young and I'm not going to use the word old, but like middle-aged, older people. Like it's fit. Most people are fit in Grande, right? Because they're surfing or they're biking or they're walking. Like it's an active community.
I agree. I think that's the biggest allure that a lot of us have. Why we all move to Grande, why we all stay in Playa Grande, it has a lot to do with this kind of lifestyle that we're able to have here, and still feel like we're close to everything, but we're also kind of a little bit away from everything else that's happening around the other communities, which is, I think, the biggest selling point for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a surfer, so forgive me, but like
Yeah.
from what I understand, like you can surf it all year round.
Yes, I'd say that there's definitely a season where it's the best time of the year to surf, which is our summer between December and I'd say the end of July.
Yep.
October is a little bit slow, but if you're really into surfing, you can still get some waves. It's just a different ocean completely, but definitely waves all year round, which is something that we love about this place for sure.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those communities where you just see such a mix of people. I mean, you've got Onda there kind of bringing in younger folk, you've got
Hmm.
a lot of the vacation rental owners are probably, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and you've got people that have been in the area for, I don't know, 30, 40 years as well. So it's just it has a community.
Yes, definitely. The only thing we don't have, which is actually being worked on right now by some of the locals, is a public children's park.
Wow.
So that's been a movement by some of the people, like you said, that have been living here for a long time. I'll mention Matthew from Indra in one of our small hotels here, who he has his kids, and also he's just such a community oriented person that he's been able to kind of gather a group of solid locals and done the whole process, going to the municipality and going through all the private avenues to kind of get some funds together to make this a reality. And from what I hear, we're really close to having that park within the next year or so. So,
That's awesome.
we're getting there. We're a small town, but we're getting there.
That's awesome. I mean, it's just nice to see those small towns organically grow, though. I mean, that's one thing that I say to Costa Rica is it doesn't move fast. And I mean, if you want to move quickly, this is not the country, to be in. But that's the whole beauty of it. But I always say because it moves so slow and things are difficult, only great ideas get done.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the advantages that I think that we have over a lot of other parts of Costa Rica is that because it's such a hub for people from all over the world to come and live here, whether they're young and they want to come and work here part time and do the after college kind of job, people who retire. come here. So it's like a big, I'd say, bowl of different minds with everyone's different perspective that comes and just kind of adds to this growth in a very healthy way, which I really appreciate about Playa Grande.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one of the big issues on that, all the, I would say, issues that people are having at the moment, or their concern is water. I mean, how is Playa Grande
Yeah.
managing? Because I know some other beach towns are having issues with it.
Well, I'm happy to say Playa Grande has had a very, I'd say, conservative way of managing water. We have, because of the proximity that we have to a marine national park, and we're also, I guess, we're sandwiched in between a marine national park and then also a river slash estuary that divides us with Tamarindo. That's also a wildlife reserve. We have some stricter regulations than other towns in our area. So water for sure has been one of the biggest points. For example, because of our proximity to these, wildlife reserves, we aren't allowed to really have a lot of loud music or loud hotels or big structures in this area, which, believe it or not, helps a ton in conserving water. But the other thing is that I do want to tip my hat off to the Asada, which is the company that manages the water here in our area, is that they've been very, very good at issuing water letters and also denying water letters when projects don't make sense.
Yep.
One of the problems that Costa Rica in general has is that bribes are, very easy to do in this country. A lot of people in public positions of power are very susceptible to taking bribes. But I'm happy to say Playa Grande doesn't seem to have that problem. Otherwise, we would be in quite a pickle, just like some of the other neighboring communities are when it comes to issuing new water letters for new homes and new projects.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the beauty of, again, of Grande. When you go there, there are no towers, like there's nothing
Yeah.
obnoxious. Like everything feels like it's in harmony with that area, which again is national park, and
Yeah.
kind of like a chilled beach life. I mean, what would you like to see in Playa Grande that's not currently there, Richie? I mean, a lot of people are looking for like, look, I would potentially want to move down. I'd like to invest in something. Like, what do you think is missing in Grande, apart from, of course, a playground?
I mean, it's little things really. We're not that far away from all of the amenities that Tamarindo offers. If you were to drive through the main road, you can get to Tamarindo within under half an hour.
Yep.
If you took the back road through the farms, you're there in about 20 minutes, maybe a little under 20 minutes. So we don't really need the large supermarkets because they're close by. We don't really need the large amount of restaurants because we have a couple in town. They're good, but if you want something else, there's Brasilito, there's Flamingo, there's Tamarindo, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say the small things are what we really miss in this town, which is maybe a little bit more retail space. Like bakeries. There's one in town, but we could use another one. Mini marts, we could use I guess, more complete one. We have one, but it's a little further away from the beach itself. It's not walking distance. But it's just the little tiny details that would make the stay in Playa Grande, I would say, a little bit more. Uh, I don't know, like just more of a comfortable place to be
Yeah.
without having to go all the way to Wacas for an ATM. These kinds of small little details, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really think we're missing anything major. Everything's kind of close by, anyways.
What stops that happening, if you don't mind me asking, Richie? Because it kind of seems like a no-brainer for somebody to kind of
Yeah,
build that commercial space there. I mean, it doesn't need to be massive. I mean, it can be like two or three commercial units, right?
yeah. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yep.
Um, it's something that because we are again just such a small town that's slowly growing. I think that kind of investment is yet to come. I wouldn't be surprised if we had this conversation a year from now, we'd at least have that little mini mart,
Yep.
at least close to the brewery, because we do have a gym, we do have a brewery, we do have pizza, we do have tacos, we do have fine dining, everything that you want. Tennis club, we have surf shops. So everything is really there. It's just like a couple little things that we're missing, and I'm not saying a lot of it, but maybe
Yep.
just a little sprinkle of that would help the locals here in Playa Grande, stay local, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're just missing a few elements to give it that like village feel, if that makes sense. I mean, it's basically there. It's 90% there. So yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
What are your favorite places to visit in Costa Rica, Richie? I mean, you've been here for what, 20 plus years?
35 years.
35
It's
years.
been a
Sorry.
while.
Wow.
Yeah,
God. Wow.
yeah. I'm definitely a sucker for the Caribbean just because where I'm from the Caribbean side of Honduras. So
Yep.
I grew up with beautiful beaches and coconut in every single meal that you can possibly think of, whether it's seafood or just regular food, plantains, all of that stuff. So it's kind of nostalgic for me to go to the Caribbean side. I love Puerto Viejo and Uvita, and Tortuguero. All these areas are just familiar to me. It was one of the first places that I was visiting the most when I first moved to Costa Rica was the Caribbean side because my dad used to work on that side too. But with that being said, right now I'd say my two favorite spots are definitely visiting around Arenal and La Fortuna. That's just beautiful. It's a short drive from where we are, so it's kind of like a weekend trip for sure.
Yep.
But also around, I would say Bahia Ballena by Uvita. Like that part of the South Pacific is just incredibly breathtaking. The amount of green and wildlife all year round. So it's definitely a place that we love to go.
Yeah, it's amazing you mentioned La Fortuna. I'm spending more and more time up there just because we have more projects kind of going on up there and a lot more investors looking in to that area. I mean, just the
Mm-hmm.
variation in land prices goes from like, $20 a square meter up to like $150 a square meter, depending on,
Yeah.
and that's, you don't often see that huge variance in this country, typically, especially not
Yeah.
in coastal areas. But I think maybe because there is not that much, I wouldn't say there's that much structure in real estate, like it's individual private sellers selling it, you're seeing those variances. But I agree on La Fortuna. I always say to people of like, look, if you've ever been to Ubud in Indonesia, it just reminds me so much of that. And if you want to know where it's going, take a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
a good spot. I mean, again, we sit right in the middle. If you're in La Fortuna, you're close enough to San Jose and you're close enough to the beaches, which is
yep.
kind of cool. It's the same with Monteverde, for example. It's that for us, for example, we have a very harsh summer. So there's no rain, right, for about maybe 4 months straight. And it just dries up and it's really hot. And there comes a point where, you're at the beach and everything and you can cool off in the ocean or a swimming pool somewhere, but you really want to experience a little bit of a cooler climate. And all we have to do is just drive 2 hours from here, and we have the waterfall, we have the hot springs and stuff like that. And it's sweater weather sometimes at night, so it's kind of nice. You can get away for a little bit, which is what I think the big attraction is to that place. I think it's about what, like 2 hours away from the Liberia International Airport too,
Yep.
which is, it's great. And it's all paved now. It's a quick drive over there. The roads are absolutely nice. So definitely, I'd say La Fortuna is going to be experiencing a bit of a boom anytime now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful drive, you go around that lake, and then after that,
Yeah.
it's pretty straight from there. So, and I mean, I get you. I mean, even here in the, up here in the cities, I mean, in kind of like March, April time, that wind stops and it gets hot here. I can only imagine you guys up in
Yeah.
Guatemala. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're upwards. If you're in the US, we can get up to about 110 degrees. And
Wow.
for those of us from here, I'd say it's like almost 40 degrees Celsius for sure
Wow.
in the shade.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Richie, I forgot to ask a question earlier when talking about Playa Grande. I mean, a lot of people look to, buy something or build something from a vacation
Mhm.
rental point of view. I mean, does Grande
Yeah.
give typically good returns to individuals?
Yeah, I mean, what I always tell buyers and people who are looking to build is that if you're trying to do a vacation rental, is that the key is to have enough room for a family. So the more rooms, the more beds, the better your business will go with vacation rentals. Um, that I think is the biggest key to us. We have certain restrictions in place in Playa Grande that, like I mentioned earlier, it won't allow us to have hotels or
Yep.
anything like this. But another thing that it doesn't allow is clubs and discotheques and loud bars like in other places. And even if someone were to figure out a way to open up a bar and try to stay up late, to your point earlier about Playa Grande being a healthy place, everyone's in bed by like 10:30 here, and I
Yep.
mean like asleep. We are definitely people that we fall asleep early and we wake up super early to either go on a beach walk or go surfing. It's just not that kind of a place. Again, if you're here on vacation and you want to experience some of that, you can always get a Tamarindo and have a good night out and then come back home. So to that point, a lot of the people that come and rent in here in Playa Grande in general, whether it's up in the hills in Ventanas or now on the beach in Playa Grande Estates or even in Palm Beach Estates, It's more of a family-oriented community where you know you're going to have a full 5-day vacation without having to deal with loud music, and your kids are going to be completely safe because there's, not a lot of activity in the street, and it just feels like a very safe place. So the traveling either with your whole family, which is a very popular thing right now. A lot of people, because of the way that we live right now in 2024, live away from their folks, live away from their brothers and sisters and cousins and stuff like that. So a lot of people do come down here and have a family reunion, which kind of, is really good for Playa Grande as far as the rental goes. That's high season kind of traffic. The other thing that Playa Grande is known for, and this is kind of like another, I guess, well-kept secret that we have here, is why is the occupancy in homes and hotels in Playa Grande so good year-round? It's because during the low season, we've discovered that this place is also a good hub for yoga retreats.
Yep.
So there are hotels like the Rip Jack Inn, for example, that have a very healthy occupancy because they have also facilities for retreats, shalas. They have about 2 different ones. They're expanding for another one. A lot of people will also rent bigger homes and have private retreats here with 5, 10 people, whether it's just yoga or any sort of, I guess like healthy activity that involves nature and ocean and stuff like this. This is I'd say the secondary market other than surfing, right? Which is just that health retreat. And that keeps the homes full. So we're getting, like I was mentioning earlier, more and more homes that are getting finished this year, which have a sole purpose of being an investment for vacation rentals that aren't really going to be experiencing much of a lull in low season as long as they're able to adapt to this kind of I guess, activity that we have in Playa Grande.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point there is that those areas when, because our tour, our busy peak periods here, December, January, February, March, July, and kind of the first 2 weeks of August, well, towards the end of June as well. I mean, if you can fill those in April, May, September, October, and kind of somewhat of November with retreats, it's a great way to have a healthy all year round, traffic to an area. And I mean, I sometimes, I used to say that Playa Grande was the new Nosara, and I still believe that, from a point of view of, I mean, I say it from a point of view of like living wellness, but it's at half the price. It's a little smaller, of course. Nosara is, and I'm saying Guiones here, that like, it's laid out very similar. It's a subdivision, there are luxury homes, you have surf, you have yoga, it's wellness. It's just much closer to everything.
Yeah, I would say the difference would be Nosara has less restrictions with construction than we do, all right? And again, the park has a lot to do with this. So Nosara is able to make, I guess, wellness centers that are bigger, that are, filled with more amenities. For example, you have, I'm not going to mention any names, but there are certain hotels in Nosara that are able to have about a retreat with 60 people and, comfortably with like, luxury amenities, right? Like everything is super nice. So they're able to definitely command a higher price for those kinds of retreats. Playa Grande falls into more of the rustic experience of Costa Rica, where there's still a little bit of like roughness that happens. And then, of course, I think the biggest, I guess it's a coincidence that it's the low season when it rains, right? And for some reason, people don't want to come to the beach when it rains because there's no sun. You can't do a lot of activities, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens in Playa Grande is that when it rains here, everything turns green and it's beautiful and there's a lot of birds that come back. So it's like a completely different environment, right? And if you're here for that kind of a wellness retreat, it feels a little quiet, but you can still hear the monkeys and the birds and everything's green and it's wonderful. And it's what you picture Costa Rica being like when you haven't been here and you've either seen it on YouTube or you've read it in a magazine. It's, birds, green trees, waterfalls, etc. That's kind of the allure of rainy season here too for people who are looking for that escape, that kind of a yoga retreat, for example.
Yeah, I mean, it's people are blown away when it's like, when it's kind of brown and dusty and be like, look, in like 2 months, this is going to be completely green. And they're like, what? And then when it's green, it'd be like, no, this is all going to be kind of brown and a little bit dusty within 2 months. And they're like, how is that so extreme, those differences? And I'm like, well, it's like a savanna. I mean, that like there are, it's like Africa in some extent, when the rain comes, I mean, everything just goes lush.
It is. It just has this beautiful allure when everything's golden. Sometimes if you kind of, if you look hard enough, you might see a zebra or a giraffe in the distance. That's what it looks like. But it's also you have to kind of see the beauty in that too, which I definitely do. I understand it's hot and it's dry and everything like that, but there's something like nice about it. Like for every morning is still if you wake up at sunrise on a day that you know is going to be 40 degrees outside, it's still really cool and there's that mist and it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I don't. We live basically in it's called a bosque tropical seco, which is a dry tropical forest. So,
Yeah.
to that definition, like we absolutely like live in that environment. We do have wildlife. There's coyotes, there's deer, there's definitely a couple of big cats roaming around. So it's all there. It's just a different environment.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you, Richie, is that I love to ask everyone. If you inherited $500,000 and had to invest in business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
I would probably invest it in real estate, but for myself. A lot of the times, when we think about having a little money in the bank account, we think about investments. We always think about, well, how can we get this to generate? So what I really like about this idea of having an extra $500,000 to invest in something, I would definitely go back to the La Fortuna Arenal discussion that we were having earlier, and actually not put all $500,000. I think that's way too much house for a place like that.
Yeah.
But maybe a quarter of that into a nice small lot with a view of the lake and just a nice comfortable home for my family and I to enjoy. I
Yeah.
think that would be the ideal thing, something where there's absolutely no pressure. Since the money came without me having to work for it, then why not treat myself with something that's just going to be there? And eventually, if you want to sell it in the future, you can always, make a little bit of money on that, or, you know,
If I had
but
to,
yes.
if I had to push you to make a return, Richie, what would you do?
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. If that was the case,
Yeah. I mean,
then again,
Arenal
I
would
would,
still work. I mean, I'm telling you, Arenal would
yeah,
still work. The data says it works.
yeah, I would definitely look more for an opportunity where I could invest and hold. That would be my idea. If there was a chance to develop with that money, then yes, why not, right? Build a couple homes and flip them.
Yep.
Areas like Arenal for sure are picking up. There's certain areas in the Central Valley in San Jose too that have that bit of a, I'd say, appreciation as far as real estate goes. But it's definitely not the same as the areas where we're going to receive people from abroad that are going to come here basically to retire or figure out a way to turn this place into their own little slice of paradise, which I think helps a lot with the ROI and these kinds of investments. So yeah, I would stay definitely within our area for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Richie, I really appreciate you taking time to come on the podcast with us and share your experience. And anyone that wants to reach out to you, I'll put all of your contact details in the description, but very much appreciate your time, sir.
Hey, my pleasure, Richard. Thank you for having us and for giving Grounded Real Estate a quick chance to get on the podcast. So
Awesome, man.
appreciate you and hope to see you soon, my friend.
Sounds good, buddy. Hey guys, hope you really enjoyed that interview there that we had with Richie at Playa Grande Real Estate. I think it's always good to get an update on these markets and kind of see what's happening there. We're definitely seeing it. We actually did it doing a joint venture with one of our clients there in Playa Grande and getting a lot of traction on a home we're about to finish. So things are getting very exciting. Grande still has huge demand. I can see it in the rental data. The number of listings is not increasing hugely, but the occupancy and average daily rates keep going up. It's a great place to invest still, in my opinion, if you can get the the land at the right price, which there still is quite a few opportunities in that area. So anyway, if you've enjoyed that, you'd like to get a little bit more information on Costa Rica, thinking about investing here or doing any projects, you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, feel free to just reach out to us and say hello, guys. It's amazing how many people we just end up just saying hello to. Or if you've got any questions or need any help with anything, let us know. I just had a call actually from someone looking to buy a property. They're buying it with bank financing. And they were like, Rich, is it normal that I'm paying around about 6-7% in total closing costs with all the legal fees, transfer taxes, bank fees, mortgage registrations? And I said, yes, that's pretty typical here, which is not normal, I know, in North America. But here in Costa Rica, which is the world of percentages that lawyers and banks work in here, yes, that's unfortunately how it works. But you can email us info@investingcostarica.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, guys, please give us a thumbs up, 5 stars. write a recommendation. I know a lot of you listen to this, and again, don't be afraid to reach out to us or just give us 5 stars. I really appreciate all of your support, guys. I'll continue to do these, and I'm sure we'll be at 200 before you know it, guys. And I've got to think about an amazing guest here for episode 200, which I'm sure will come very, very soon. But until the next podcast, appreciate your support, guys, and have a great day. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.